Section 1 of Functions, Domain and Range. First question we're going to do is number 1. And it says to determine what is the domain and range when you have a set of coordinates. And the way to answer this is to do something we've always done, and that is to create, or have done very much of, create an XY table. Remember that an XY table is used to plug in numbers and get something out and represent the data in an organized fashion. We also know that when we do that, we get coordinates. So if we go the other way, and I plug this coordinate in, I'll get 0, 0. This coordinate is -2 and 3. This one is 7 and 5. And this one is -1 and 2. Now, the x's represent the domain, and the y's represent the range. So the domain of this set of points is 0, -2, 7, and -1, and the range is 0, 3, 5, and 2. If we have the information given to us in a graph, in which case now we will work on number 7. If we were to do the same thing and say x and y, remember that we have a collection of infinite points with this graph. So let's just represent a few of them. Now if I look at the graph, I see that maybe this is a point on the line. So I'm going to call that -2, -4. So -2, -4 represents the coordinate. If I keep going higher, I see a peak right here, and that location is -1, +5. Then I have one right here, which looks like 0 and 3. And I see I have one there. I'm just picking out points that seem to be easy to describe. That's 1 and 3. If I go way down here, it looks like right there, we have a point at 2, -6. Now we know that it goes on forever. I could have started sooner and plugged in like a negative number, smaller number, but the graph doesn't show it, but it does exist. And the point of this exercise is to say, well, is there any limitation in terms of what I can plug in for x? I could look at this and I could go to -6. I'd have to go down, but I'd have to go a long ways before I ever hit that graph, but I know that I could and would find a point there. So when you have a situation like that, we would say your x or your domain is all reals. And the symbol for that is all in a double-stemmed R. Now your range, which is your y values, and again your x is your domain, if you notice it looks like it's -4, it gets bigger and goes to 5, and then it gets smaller again. There's a 3 there, 3 again, goes down to -6, and then it's probably going to get smaller and smaller as that goes on. Now since this one seems to have a peak at 5, right here, it won't get any higher than that. The y's won't get any higher. So this one you'd say, since range is y's, you'd say y's are going to be all numbers basically, but less than or equal to the biggest number it reached, which is 5. So this is the domain, and this is the range.